All right. Good morning, 6G. Today is April 22nd, 2020. And today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be following up on the quick review lesson that you guys and girls had on Monday about how the Canadian government is connected with the rest of the world and how are Canadians connected with the rest of the world and what were some of those partners. And we went over that with a quick review because we had gone over some of that information before. So today, what we're going to be doing is a follow-up to that is how is the Canadian government, how do they respond to big social issues or environmental issues that impact countries across the world? How does Canadian help during times of need or disaster? And there are many types of disasters that occur in the world. We're currently in one. It's a health disease or a pandemic that affects not just Canada, but different countries throughout the world. So disasters happen in some forms to countries all the time, everywhere in the world. So today, we're going to be using the case study of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami / earthquake, and we're going to see how the Canadian government came together and put together a response through the provincial governments and territories, individual Canadians, non-government organizations, and basically how the federal government and its resources responded to helping those countries out. We're going to be specifically focusing on the country of Thailand and how the Canadian government responded to that country. Interesting enough, it was something that happened in 2004. And at the time, we had SARS in 2004. So two big events that happened in 2004. We had SARS, and then there was this Indian Ocean disaster. So we're going to quickly go and learn some information just to get some context to what exactly happened. So in 2004, there was called the Indian Ocean tsunami. And here's a little picture at the front. You can see that in this picture, there's a boat downtown. Obviously, this boat was pushed by the tsunami waves as it swept through the city and created this swath of damage that you see here. So tsunamis are quite disastrous. I know a lot of you have seen YouTube videos on some of the disasters, like for example in Japan, or even this one, you might have seen some video footage of it, and it can be quite disastrous to people. So what happened in 2004 tsunami in Thailand? And I remember this when I was, a little bit younger. It was on Boxing Day, and something huge happened in the Indian Ocean. It was such a big event. So I'm going to quickly do some share reading with you guys. So what happened? So on a peaceful Boxing Day morning in 2004, many people in Thailand were puzzled by the huge waves from the Indian Ocean that seemed to be traveling quickly to the shores of the country. The coastline was full of tourists enjoying a tropical holiday, unaware that their lives were quickly about to change as the waves rolled in. By the end of the day, more than 227,900 people had been killed in 14 countries from the worst tsunami in recent history. That's a lot of people. Hours before the arrival of the fierce waves, an earthquake had occurred off the west coast of Sumatra, Indonesia. The earthquake caused the huge waves, which became a tsunami that traveled about 800 kilometers an hour in the ocean, quickly arriving on the shores and destroying almost everything and everyone in its path. There's a map here of Thailand. This is the Indian Ocean region. Thailand was particularly hit hard by the disaster as 4,000 people died, many of whom were tourists in the Khao Lak area of the country. Family members were separated by the tsunami as there was no warning that something catastrophic was about to occur. Many people were never able to see their loved ones again as the ocean had swept them far away. People also lost their homes, their belongings, and their identification. Many tourists had no way of contacting their homelands for help. There was little food, drinking water, or medical services available. As many as 1,700,000 people had lost their homes to the disaster. The global response. Within hours of the tsunami hitting Indonesia and Africa, the international community began responding to the needs of the affected area. This quick response was the result of several factors. By 2004, many people throughout the world had access to the internet and learned about the disasters very quickly that way. Most people could see videos of the tsunami that had been taken by people in the affected areas using camcorders in their cell phones, and they sent to television stations and websites. As they quickly learned about the As they quickly learned about how devastating tsunami was, people throughout the world began donating money to NGOs, or non-government organizations such as Red Cross, World Vision, and Oxfam. Many people throughout the world had relatives either living in or visiting the affected areas and were anxious to offer any help they could to help find their family members. How did the Canadian government help? Now, this is important because you're going to have to kind of really know how the Canadian government responds to things that go across the world. And this case study will give you a glimpse of that. So in the right-hand side here, we have a chart with two columns about the Canadian contributions to the tsunami relief. And it splits in the rows on what Canada did. So the federal government gave a total of $425 million to the affected countries in that area, and $265 million was for immediate help, and $160 million was for rebuilding. So this would be immediate, and this would be like midterm or long term. The public, which is you and me, individual Canadians, donated through various fundraisers, $230 million. The provinces and territories, so the provinces, provincial governments and territories donated $20 million. And then private companies donated $9 million for a grand total of $648 million, which is a lot of money. It's getting close to $1 billion. So the Canadian government promised $40 million in aid. They pledged to match funds raised by Canadian NGOs. Like, for example, if Red Cross raised $5 million, then the Canadian government would give another $5 million. So they matched how much it was raised. We sent a 200-member DART team, which is called the Disaster Assistant Response Team, to the area, told any countries from the affected area that had owed Canada that they didn't have to pay their debt for a while. And we promised to quickly approve any applications for family members of Canadian citizens or permanent residents who wanted to move to Canada. The DART Assistant Response Team, what is this? The DART team is made up of members of Canada's armed forces, and it responds to emergency situations when asked by an affected country or area or by an organization such as the United Nations. When it arrived in the tsunami area, DART, this is what they did. They treated more than 5,000 patients hurt by the disaster. So they would have to triage these people, and then they would have medical tents, and then they would give medical services as needed. Produced more than 1.5 million liters of clean drinking water. As you can know, those big salt waves, remember the ocean is salt. So when they come in, they destroy fresh water, and they make the water brackish and not good to drink. Salt water kills you if you drink it, a lot of it. You have to drink a lot of it. Transported more than 55,000 people across the local waterway, repaired schools, cleaned rubble, constructed temporary shelters. And here were some of the areas that were affected by the tsunami below. Okay. All different countries there. There's probably 10 or 12 different countries that were affected. And then NGOs, these are non-government organizations. Canadian citizens were eager to help get the relief to the countries affected by the tsunami and turned quickly to the most well-known organizations to donate their money. The image below shows 6 of the most popular international NGOs, all of which have national goods within Canada. So these were some of the NGO groups down here that donated money and goods and services and personnel to these different places in the world in Thailand. Some of these NGOs had a specific focus for the money that they had received. For example, Doctors Without Borders only concentrated on healthcare, not on shelter or transportation. In fact, the particular group stopped accepting donations after 5 days, as they did not have enough stuff to be able to use more money. Other groups, such as World Vision, offered help in more areas. World Vision provided food, hygiene packs, shelter supplies, classrooms, debris cleanup, and sanitation supplies. And here's a picture of a building. And then this just talks about individuals like you and I and how they helped out. So that's the text right there that we quickly went over. So the question remains is, okay, so now that we kind of know what happened in 2004, the Canadian government and its citizens and its organizations and private businesses and provinces responded to Thailand, giving them money, giving them personnel, giving them all these different items. So what? All right, so here's the scenario. This is what I want you to do. Now, you are going to become, in this role, Prime Minister. You are now in control of Canada. Now, Canada has helped out with many, many different types of disasters. The choice is you're prime minister and you have no choice about it. That's number one. However, you get to choose the disaster in which you're going to respond to. And I'm going to show you some of the disasters just in my virtual backgrounds. So here's the first one. Canada has responded to this type of disaster. If you know what it is, what do you think it is? Okay, so some of you said hurricane. Hurricanes and typhoons. Ah, got you there. Typhoons happen on the Pacific side. Hurricanes happen on the Atlantic side. Has Canada responded to this type of disaster? Yes, they have. You might be responding to this as prime minister. That's your choice. So that's one of the choices that you have. Here's a second one. Do you know what this one is? This is called drought. Drought happens to specific regions in the world or specific countries where they can no longer grow crops because there's no water. And then because there's no water and all dries up, they can't drink. So you can imagine what happens to a country really fast. Starvation, no accessibility to fresh water, and then medical stuff happening after that. So that's a situation where Canada has helped out a lot all the time. You might want to do that one. Here's another one. If you know what this is, there's a bunch of buildings in the background that have been kind of blown away because of a situation with war. And with war creates people leaving. This is a push factor which pushes people out. And this did create refugee crises. And this has not just been one country. This has been lots of different countries throughout the world. And Canadians or Canada takes in refugees all the time. So you might want to do that one. This is a situation, again, where Canada has helped out in a natural disaster. So you can see in the background, we have a destroyed building. It happens on land. The land shakes, so there's a little shaking. So that's called an earthquake. Canada has responded to that as well to help out other countries. And last one, which is one you're probably more familiar with the person in the hazmat suit here. Bet you didn't know that was called a hazmat suit. You learned something today. So as you can see here, we have someone researching probably on maybe a vaccine, but they're in protective equipment, obviously, because they don't want to get infected. So those are 5 scenarios. Now, you're going to be prime minister and you're going to choose one of the scenarios that you're going to respond to. And you're going to tell me what you're going to do in the immediate, short term, the midterm, and long term. Okay. And it's not going to be this big onerous like project. No, it's one page and it's point form. So it's really easy to do. So the only thing that you have to do today is you have to tell me which one do you want. And there's 5 options there. And please don't everyone pick the same one. So again, this one. So we have hurricane or typhoon. We have drought. We have civil war with refugee diaspora. That we have an earthquake, and then we also have a health pandemic situation. So what do you have to do today? Well, all you have to do is, you know, when you go into the social studies page underneath the comment section, tell me which one you want, because then I can put together that one page response, and it's not even be full sentences, it's point form. And I will show you how to do that later on. We got lots of time to do it. We don't do it. The only thing that you have to do today is just in the comment section below on the 6G and the activity feed, tell me which scenario you want, either earthquake, drought, this pandemic, health pandemic, earthquake, or hurricane. Your choice on which one you do. That's all you have to do today. So that about ends it. I'm going to be introducing this one page scenario where you're prime minister. I can probably introduce it on Friday, but you won't, and it's not due for a while. But for the keeners, I'll put it on Friday. And if you're really interested in doing it earlier, then I will post it on Friday. But again, no rush. I'll show you a book if you're interested for some of you. I know some of you are voracious readers. This is an excellent book. It's by Canadian author Eric Walters. It's called Wave. And when you start reading this book, you will get hooked really quickly. And it is about that 2004 tsunami. I'll just go over the back. 2004, the suspenseful and riveting novel from best-selling author Eric Walters follows the saga of a brother and sister caught in the center of a 2004 tsunami catastrophe. So if you are interested, a great book, and I know the virtual libraries are open, read it. It is a good one. Trust me, it is really good. Anyway, that's enough for today. In the comment section below, just tell me which one that you're interested in doing. That's it. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Make sure that you keep safe and try your best and relax. See you guys. We miss you.